Right, we're live. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the stream.
Hey.
I should probably mute the stream before delay fucking happens again.
Welcome to the Blackwell pod stream.
Yep.
Where we love Life is Strange.
Not to be confused with pod race. It's a pod stream.
Yeah. Now this is podcasting.
Are you proud of yourself, Zach?
I am.
Should be.
I hate it. But I love it.
How's everyone doing?
It.
Great.
Yeah,
all right.
Pretty
good.
It's a beautiful day.
It's night, but yeah. I mean.
Whatever.
So, I don't know what we're going to be doing for the stream. It's just kind of impromptu, so...
Yeah, our plans with Hannah fell through. So we decided since we were all here together, we would put on a show for our lovely listeners.
That's a good way to put it, even though...
It's going to be really exciting. We're going to say a lot. There's going to be a lot of dead air.
It's gonna be
It's
really
my favorite.
Oh yeah, we need to
Mod settings?
our mods up with that.
Okay. All right. Okay, no. All right, that was easy. There's literally an add moderator button.
Oh, sweet. That's what you do.
Okay.
Nice.
Right, there we go.
I'm getting the chat pulled up on my phone.
Everybody feeling that E3 hype?
Yeah, I watched the EA conference today.
How was it?
It was okay. There wasn't really that much that blew me away. There was a game called No Way Out, I think. I want to say.
A Way Out. Yeah.
Yeah. And
that looks pretty cool.
That looked promising. And some of the Battlefront stuff was interesting, but I mean, it didn't blow me away, but it was a good way to dive into E3, I guess.
To ease it, yeah.
There was something else they showed that looked pretty cool. I'm sure what it was though.
Is it Anthem?
Oh no, they teased something that's going to be at the Xbox presentation. It was only for a second. Something called Anthem. All they showed was like a super soldier suit, and that was it. So it wasn't much of a tease, but it looks all right. It looks interesting.
EA has never really had
it's not had what? Oops. No, I just haven't heard anything. I've just been following Sean's Twitter posts.
Yeah, I saw some of the Battlefront 2 stuff. But
How do I? Oh, I was trying to figure out how to get the live chat up on my phone.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult because there's a delay, so we're kind of like behind. Well,
I just have the what I do is I put the window with our faces over where the video would be, and then just have the live chat up to the side. So
yes.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm gonna do
That's a
that
good idea.
now.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is when you click to type anything in chat, it'll minimize the window with the call, but you can just bring it back up.
Yes.
But yeah, EA has never really had very strong presentations ever. They've always been historically pretty bad.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of just making memes out of it on Twitter.
That's what they're best for.
Nice.
I hope Mr. Caffeine comes back for the Ubisoft conference.
Who is that?
Oh man, Mr. Caffeine.
I don't remember him.
I don't remember him either.
Oh, look him up on YouTube. He's a living legend. He was the best part about Ubisoft. That one, I don't remember what year that was. 2012, maybe. I'll look it up.
Oh, yeah, I probably wouldn't remember because I've only really started.
2011. Man, everybody, the second this is over, or right now, even, because it's worth it. Look up some Mr. Caffeine videos. That guy's great. He is definitely not the cringiest thing to ever step foot on an E3 stage.
My favorite E3 moment of all time ever was when they were revealing the Kinect for Xbox 360, and they were talking about how like your little avatar in Xbox Land, whatever it's called, would like follow your movements with the Kinect. And so the guy's like, it's like you can even look at the bottom of your shoe, and like the leg just like spazzes out, and then it just completely untracks from what he's doing, and it just like hangs its head, and it's the most like you could not script that. It was beautiful.
Oh man, Kinect is a beautiful train wreck for all the years it existed. It still does somehow.
Somehow it's still around.
I think like one of my favorite like not Twitch E3 moments was I think it was last year. There was like this game where it was like people played as birds or something, and it's kind of like a capture the flag kind of game, but they kind of just blasted just eagles like screaming through the audio, and it was amazing.
I don't know if I remember that.
I can't remember what the game's called. It was just amazing.
Was it the is it the like the VR? Like the VR?
I think so. I think it was that one. Yeah.
What is that called?
So ridiculous.
Eagle Flight or something like that?
I can't remember.
It's a PSVR
I mean, that sounds like a legitimate name for eagles that are flying.
Just screams. I love it. Okay.
So we got a question about Life is Strange 2.
Alrighty.
Which we know they said that won't be at E3 because they're gonna have Vampire. Man, they messed
I
up.
always want to call it Vampire too. Man,
Vampire is such a cooler name.
That Y really makes you want to throw in make it a little fancier.
To the comment about prequel leaks, we only talk about official announcements. So
yes,
unless it's been announced officially, we don't really discuss it. But we can talk Life is Strange 2. That has been announced. What our predictions are, what our wants, our desires.
Well, Life is Strange 2 has it been announced? I thought they just said there's more Life is Strange, right?
No, they announced the season 2.
Yeah.
Did they officially say season? Man,
yes.
Where was I at?
I'm pretty sure they did. Now I'm trying to remember, but I think they did.
I'm really hoping that they call it Life is Strange 2 Electric Boogaloo.
The quintessential sequel title.
Yeah. Tighter. TIE Fighter. Life is Strange Strikes Back.
Return of the Strange.
Life is Strange 2 Strange Harder.
Life is Stranger Things.
Too Life, Too Strange.
Too Life, yeah, that's it.
That's what I was going to say. Damn it.
Life is Strange Arcadia Drift.
Yeah.
The Alive and the Strange.
I don't get that reference.
So
welcome to the next 45 minutes of this live stream.
So what we want from Life is Strange 2 is a ridiculous title.
Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's it.
That's all. As long as the title is ridiculous, we're happy.
Yes, I would like that. So yeah, what does everybody want from the game? From
all right, get that out of the way.
I can't top of that. That's pretty much it.
I mean, yeah. Time travel and gays. That's really all I asked for.
I think they should stick to the. They have to stick to like the supernatural element, right? Like powers, and maybe not necessarily powers, but I hope it stays a little supernatural because I think that was I feel like that was a key part of Life is Strange was like the mystery of the power and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Normal humans in superhuman situations, which is always a good formula.
I kind of brought this up when I was in the podcast episode for the fan site, but I would like to see the next game go to like a different time era and like drop back to like the 80s or like the 90s. Still have it about like teens, but just kind of like change. That's one way to really change the setting and even the vibe. And I feel like the soundtrack was, of course, such a big part of the game, you could drop it back into a different era and just like totally change the feel of like music. Like, you know, you can stick away from indie. You could go into the 90s and make it about grunge. And
oh my god.
Oh, the
That's
1990s.
Oh,
Okay.
I would love that.
I want if it is in the 90s, I hope to God they have like the terrible fashion sense that everyone from the 90s had.
Absolutely, yeah.
The 80s was
man.
like
You
like-
may say terrible, but that stuff is. I live for that look.
I'm talking like Jinko jeans, like that like the
Oh, so you're talking like when it went into the early 2000s, like that
yeah, I
transition.
get like late 90s. Yeah.
The weird transition from the 90s into the 2000s. It was a weird set of years.
Maybe the world really did end in the year 2000. Maybe Y2K was real, and like the simulation booted on, and that's why it was really shaky at first, and so like all the like
Worked out all the
clothing
bugs.
hadn't really loaded right, and
Wow.
so that's why we had elephant leg Jinko jeans. that's my theory for the universe.
What if the Matrix was the perfect transition for to move everybody's fashion sense onward from the early 2000s?
Like y'all need to stop. We're gonna put out this movie where everybody wears like skin tight like spandex and trench coats.
Yeah.
Maybe this will push you in the right direction somehow.
Yeah.
But y'all need to stop.
Speaking of Life is Strange 2, that we kind of went off on a tangent. Yeah,
That's what we do best.
I feel like if it does go to like the 80s, 90s, the soundtrack will be really important, but it's kind of hard to get stuff that was kind of not as well known as like Sid Meier's and everything like that.
Yeah,
You know,
that, I guess.
because it'd be more well known.
Yeah, that could be.
I mean, there was like a lot of like one hit wonder like college rock back in the early 90s. A lot of like you could have stuff like Angie Aparo and like stuff like that. Just a lot of the like, I don't know. It might seem like a ploy, kind of like a nostalgia ploy, but there was a lot of like one hit wonders that you could pull from. A lot of like lesser known that like people never really learned the name of, but the song played on the radio a lot.
Yeah, right.
Also, like if you do go the grunge route, which absolutely, I would want to see that. At least one character be like all into grunge. There's a lot of like, you have your big names. You have Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, stuff like that. But there's also like Mudhoney, which is like, they were the daddies of grunge. And so you have
I've
like
always
a lot
wanted
of
to hear. I've been meaning to look up Pearl Jam. I mean, I heard the good music.
the album 10 is amazing. Their other stuff is hit or miss.
The album 10 is exactly what's in my car CD player right now.
Nice. I before I left Virginia, I walked into this bar, or it was a brewery. I was with my buddy, and the bartender called me Eddie Vedder.
Go away.
Special
No.
guest appearance.
Go away.
Screaming.
Go away. It's my twin brother. Sure. Go away.
Why?
I think the 80s would be fun too, just because I like the neon aesthetic of
Oh
the
yeah,
80s.
the 80s is so hot right now. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, like I don't know if anybody watches Black Mirror, but
Oh yeah.
an episode in season 3 called San Junipero, and it perfectly encompasses everything that's cool about like the 80s like aesthetic. It's such a cool episode.
It's my favorite episode.
Yeah, it was.
I only saw the first episode and it was really disturbing. So it
A Black Mirror?
Continue.
Yeah. Whenever I tell somebody to watch Black Mirror, I say skip episode 1, watch episode 2. Come
That's
back to
exactly
episode
what my
1
friend
later.
told me to do, and I was like, "No, I have to start from the beginning." And then I was like, "Yeah, I probably should have listened to you."
Well, yeah. I hope he should have told you. If he didn't, he should have told you that the show is like not interconnected, and each episode is like a new story.
He did, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then you don't need to watch episode 1. And episode 1 is really weird, and it was a really weird choice for them to pick.
Yeah.
But
Fun
Yeah.
fact. They're filming an episode for it for the new season. They're filming it like 10 minutes away from my house.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
Try and be an extra.
Yeah, I'll just run down and be like, "Hi, I do acting things.
I act.
I've been known to act.
But yeah, I think Life is Strange. That's something I would like to see is a different era. I think because that could totally change the setting and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was so key to the feel of the game, and that's kind of what roped me in was the atmosphere of it. And I think it was also because I hadn't heard a lot of the music. Like I had pretty much only heard like 1 or 2 songs on the soundtrack, so everything was new and felt like I was in a different world. But yeah.
Yeah, same here. I hadn't really heard
I don't care so much about like the era. I mean, it would be cool to see like the 80s and the 90s, but I care more about like I would just like to see a new set of characters and a totally different story. That's
Yeah.
Which I think Michelle has said.
Yeah, I think it's definitely good to move on to a different set of characters. As much as I think we would all like to see the same characters come back, I think the story is said and done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Jamie doesn't like that idea.
Jamie doesn't
No,
agree.
I mean, I'm kind of with Jamie on that one, but I also don't want to ruin the characters in the sense I don't want them to have to force us to come up with like maybe follow Samuel or something. I don't know.
That's what I've been saying.
The Animal King.
Samuel mops. And then Samuel sweeps. Episode 1.
It's just cleaning simulator. That's it. That's the game.
Life is Samuel.
Yeah.
Life is my spirit animal's a squirrel.
Squirrels talk to me, Max.
Can we move on,
He's
please?
such a creep.
To Ravenox, yes, definitely female protagonist. Again, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I would like that as well.
Yeah. It's a big yay.
Mm.
I don't think it's required, but I think it was definitely. I mean, it was definitely welcome.
Yeah, well, I spoke about it in the last episode, I think, and I said that was kind of a big factor. I think I mentioned it. That was a big factor for me because you never kind of see a young female character in video games right now that aren't overly sexualized, and that was something I really liked about it.
Yeah, it did do that well. It's a good game. It's very good. I think it hopefully set some standards for for games to come.
I definitely do think, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again, it bears repeating, that they do set a bar for like how narrative driven games and how that style of game should be handled and should be done as far as like boundaries to push as far as like subject matter and all that, and like the appropriate ways to handle it too. I mean, sure, it's not like the perfect game ever made. There will never be a perfect story or a perfect game, but
Excuse you. Inspector Gadget 2.
is that a game?
No, it's a movie.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That was bad enough.
Let me tell you about a little game called Earth Defense Force where you shoot giant bugs because it has the best story.
Actually, no. Son of the Mask.
Oh God.
That's or Batman and Robin, Spider-Man 3. It seems like all the movies on my shelf are really bad movies.
That's just you. That's your
know
brand.
Spider-Man 3 is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I've never seen that.
As is Batman and Robin. Arnold as Mr. Freeze is just a stroke
is.
of genius.
God.
I wouldn't say that.
Nice to meet you. Chill out.
Time to chill.
What killed the dinosaurs? I don't know why I have shit movies on queue. I guess
his
all my
brand.
movies are just shit movies.
It is, yeah. That is his. We used to have this thing, and I say we as in me, Joey, Jamie, and a few of our other friends we met through Life is Strange fans, where we would have a movie night weekly, and how it would work is everybody would submit a movie to watch, and there's this website where you can just spin a wheel and it lands on something random. Jamie's spot didn't have a movie. Jamie's spot said Jamie's Wheel of Death. And if we hit it, I had to spin a second wheel that was full of terrible movies that Jamie had filled. And so if we ever hit Jamie's wedge on the wheel, we knew we were watching something terrible that week.
We hit it once.
We watched. Was it Son of Mask?
We watched Commando.
Oh, we watched Commando, which was actually terrible awesome.
Yeah.
We did watch Son of Mask at some point.
We didn't.
I don't remember why. Yeah, we did.
I didn't.
We absolutely watched it.
We watched The Room.
We did watch The Room.
Yeah. We watched
The Room? Oh my gosh.
That movie was amazing.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Arms up.
You think of everything.
I can't wait. Should I tell the story about Tommy Wiseau's AMA on Reddit? Okay, so Tommy Wiseau did an AMA on Reddit a couple of years ago about, I think it was like when episode 1 came out of Life is Strange.
Yeah, I think it was.
And I submitted a question, and it was, I think it was what quote from The Room, do people ask you to say the most? When you're actually going to, when people meet you. I can confirm Tommy Wiseau is the weirdest person. Because this is what he says.
Response.
No, I say you can laugh, you can cry, you can express yourself, but please don't hurt each other. It's up to them what they want me to say, I enjoy. Move on. Next question.
What a brilliant answer.
What a masterful answer.
There's absolutely nothing you could do short of having me present for the autopsy of his body that will convince me that he is not an alien. There's absolutely nothing that no one will ever tell me. I will have to be there for the autopsy and see it with my own 2 eyes to ever believe he's not an alien. And even then, I'll probably still be skeptical.
He's got a new movie coming out, doesn't he?
Does he? Okay.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it. And I can't wait to see the James Franco movie about The Room.
Oh, disaster movie or whatever.
No, not another disaster movie.
Not another disaster movie.
Yeah. Those are the best movies. Just movies that just go well.
I haven't actually seen The Room yet.
Do what?
Oh, you should.
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it either. I've just seen select clips on YouTube. So
Yeah.
It's it's an experience.
Arms up.
So, does anybody else have anything they would like to see in Life is Strange?
Yes.
Season 2?
Maybe it would be cool to get an idea on if someone from the first game, right, was somehow involved, in a prequel kind of way, I guess. Not saying about all the rumors and whatnot, more like 20 or 30 years in the past, when it's like Max's parents or something, and they were involved, and it was kind of passed on genetically to Max, maybe.
Like the powers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No. I think the powers are this weird, cosmic, force. It's sort of there was some kind of weird imbalance in the world or something, and something just decided to bestow powers on Max. And the reason, the reason why, who knows? Maybe it was so. I know one of the main things people say is so she could have one last week with Chloe. But maybe it was. I like to think of the darker ending, and that there was something Max was supposed to do in that week, but she failed, and that's the ending we get, because it so much of it is Max not knowing what's going on, and so how is she supposed to figure out why she's been given these powers, or where they've come from, or whatever.
That's dark.
Yeah, well, I think I tend to interpret. Interpret Life is Strange that way. I mean, it is a dark game, but it kind of, I make it in my headcanon places. I make it even darker sometimes. I've written one Life is Strange, one fan fiction, and it's pretty dark. So.
See, I've written fan fictions, but they're just the softest things you'll ever see. So, which you won't ever see, by the way.
Can you read one on the stream?
No.
Can you type it out like it's a script, like it's a play, and then we'll all play characters in it?
That would be really fun, actually.
That's me.
No, I would actually. I think it'd be really cool if the series of games, like, again, were totally separate from one another, had different characters, different story, everything, but they all had that supernatural element you were talking about, Zach. But then, like, somehow at the end they like tied everything together and everything's like related in some weird way.
Yeah,
It's like
You know, like,
metaverse, or not metaverse, but I guess just the overarching universe of it. It's like how they're all. That would be interesting. Yeah.
it would be interesting if Life is Strange 2, like season 2 details come out and we kind of find out like some kind of, you know, base on what it's about. Like, you know, if it's set in, just as an example, it's like set in New York or something. And then I doubt this is the case, but if maybe there's like something hidden in Life is Strange, like that mentions like some kind of weird happening in New York, and then, you know, maybe there is some kind of weird connecting thread between them.
So
I hope
basically,
there's something like that in season 2. I hope they don't even have to mention Max and Chloe, but if there's some kind of like weird mention to like maybe whatever's going on is like somehow connected to this random storm that came out of nowhere and wiped out this town.
Yeah.
If that's
Or
the
even-
canon ending.
I mean, there was still like all the weird weather stuff that was happening that made like national news in the game. So like I think they would be kind of, unless it's like a completely different time frame, but if it takes place around the same time, like they would have to mention some of that. Like, you know, not specifically Max and Chloe if it is like you said in New York, for example. But just like, man, this is just like what was happening out in Oregon with the weird weather, like something along those
Right.
lines.
Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like they're going to have that no matter what. Like, even if it's just in the form of Easter eggs or something, they're going to have some sort of callback.
Yeah.
I would love that anyway.
What would make it really sufficiently weird and cosmic for me was if they brought back like the blue butterfly and stuff. Like if it's there for like the spawn of the new person's power or something.
Oh man, that'd be so good. I feel like that is more specific to time travel though, because, you know, the whole butterfly effect thing. But I see what you're saying.
But I think the butterfly effect thing more connects to the whole fact that the game has consequences and less about time travel, but the fact that you know, the choices you make are going to affect the future in some way.
that kind of brings up a good question I want to ask. So if Life is Strange 2 has like different abilities, what abilities would you guys want to see instead of time travel, like rewinding time?
I have a pre-canned answer for this, but I'll wait to go because I've thought about this one.
I have.
Sean, you go. I have to think about it.
That's so hard.
I can go if nobody else has got one or needs to think about it.
I'll say telekinesis.
Yeah.
Telekinesis.
Yeah. I feel like they could do a lot with that.
Yeah.
I need to pull up my Reddit profile because I need to find the comment I wrote about
Someone
this.
in the comments just said mind reading, and that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's what mine is. It's
The
mine.
next line is-
It's a kind of mind reading, but I feel like hold on, I gotta find this comment because I don't even remember my own thoughts.
Oh, that's
The
gonna
only
be
thing I feel like mind reading, I just thought something, which I don't know, it probably won't happen, but it could be interesting if we saw these powers in the hands of people who aren't specifically as nice as Max would be, like someone using them not necessarily for the good.
So like,
Yeah.
if Chloe had them.
Yeah. I audibly gasped then. How dare you?
Well, we saw how Chloe would use time travel. That was explained.
She
That would be an
did say
interesting.
she would use it to hook up with people, so I can respect that. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That would be an interesting thing though. Like if it was just the antagonists that had a power and the protagonist had to go up against that, like that would be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
Man, that's what my my one fan fiction I've written is from the perspective of Chloe, and half of the reason why I wrote it is because I think from the perspective of anyone apart from Max's power is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I wrote it from Chloe's perspective just to kind of show like why that would be. There's a part where in the story where Max, she snaps a selfie of herself, which is of course selfies are doorways for her to like rewind back to. And just the idea that like at any moment she takes a picture of herself, she can change into a completely different person who's experienced different things from the future. She could, at that moment, she can become a future Max who's stepped back. Because to Chloe, it's in an instant, right? It's not like, it's just like the second that camera flashes, Max is now a different person, and she knows what's about to happen. And I think that makes her power really, really terrifying from the perspective if you are not Max.
Yeah,
that's really weird. That's interesting because like it's all based on Chloe's perception, right? So it's like if Max changes, does everything else change? And now I'm thinking back to the part where she goes back and like Chloe's about to confront Jefferson about everything, and Max is like trying to stop her and explain everything she saw in the past. But it like nothing was different, at least to Chloe. Like everything, it was like but to Max, she's just like come back from like a day later, and like she knows all the stuff is going on, and like she like instantly starts panicking, and Chloe's like, "What is going on?" And
I think the scariest thing is about 30 seconds left after Max explains, she just forgets and is back to the past Max.
Right, she goes on autopilot Max.
Yeah.
So what I had written about the possibility of a second power or new power, I mean, in a season 2 is mind reading, but I think that would be hard to do just on the fact of if you could just read people's minds. Like think about if Max had mind reading power, like that game would play out so different, because episode 1 you read Jefferson's mind and you find out he's spoilers you find out he's the one,
It's
and so like I think that would be kind of hard to do, but they could probably pull it off. Even if it's like maybe she can only read people's memories at certain times or something, or maybe it's like more draining than time control, and the new hero can only use it so often. But I think it would be cool if they continue the theme of.
I'm really hot.
If they continue the theme of photography, and whereas Max can step back into moments in time as long as she's in the photo. I think it would be awesome if the new mind reader could read the thoughts of anyone in a photo. So they could read the thoughts of that person in that moment as that photo is being taken. And like, just imagine once again, if Max had that power, how terrifying it would be when you find the dark room and you find all the pictures of Rachel and Kate and all the other kids. And like, Max being able to read all of their minds, like in that moment, they'd probably be like so disoriented and like out of it. And that would be like a way more harrowing than it already is. A much more harrowing scene. And I think photography should be something I forgot to mention that I'd like to see in Life is Strange 2. I think the photography theme was pretty cool, and I'd like to see that back.
You see, that went completely different to what I was thought about when you said photography, because I was thinking when you said mind reading, it was like the only thing that Max could see was like photographs in the person's head, and like she'd have to actually work it out herself, like what they were actually thinking, like all the memories and shit, because art is subjective and whatnot. Dab.
Look at this photograph.
Somebody make a GMV of that song of Life is Strange.
Oh my god.
And it's just like
I feel like
Max
that's already
holding
happened. There's some crap out there that
yeah, that's like oddly specific.
Probably. Yeah.
Aram, am I pronouncing that right? Yes. Michelle, Luke, and Raul have stated that they are working on a Life is Strange season 2 or Life is Strange 2 or however you want to call it.
I think the real question is season 2 when?
That is the eternal question.
Yeah.
What I really want to see come back is Hot Dog Man.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that's something that everybody wants, and something that you should definitely put in the game, don't
Yeah, they need it. So here's why I love it is because it started off as just from what I've gathered with like our interviews in the past and all that, because we haven't spoken with Edward himself. But what I've gathered is it was just kind of like just a thing that he made, and he like it was just just some fluff to have into the world to make it feel like more like an actual breathing world. But it took off to such ridiculous proportions, and that's why I love it so much. On top of it just being like this ridiculous thing, this like giant wiener with a face,
and mustard.
But
Perfect description, Joey.
Giant wiener with the face. So I think that like it needs to be a staple now. Like I think that's what it requires.
I agree. I second
Yes.
that.
I want in the next one there to
Jury
be
has made a
like
choice.
I want there to be an arcade machine that has a mini game in it where you play as like Hot Dog Man.
I thought about
Some kind of
Good
mini game.
idea.
I thought about making a once I start like getting into programming in school more. I thought about making like a Hot Dog Man platformer as just like a little joke game.
Make
Like,
it
just have like a single
Play
level.
the hell out of that. That would be
Make
so
it
good.
make it co-op and just have second player be like a Hot Dog Man reskin where he just has ketchup instead of mustard.
I would play that.
Or like a Hot Dog Man fighting game.
Yeah.
Or you could
With
like,
the only two
Always
characters.
Hot Dog Man.
yeah,
Yeah,
Or
instead
you
of
could be
going
like-
for the shit, because I'll put
Yeah, you could-
money towards it now.
you could like earn him in Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah. And that's his like recolors. He's got like mustard and relish and ketchup.
Yeah.
So that's the people have spoken, don't nod. I hope you're listening.
Please.
Yes, more Hot Dog Man. Can we make that the
I wonder-
podcast's official like slogan for season 2?
Hot Dog Man, please.
More Hot Dog Man.
Yeah. I wonder if there were like any other parts like that because I can't imagine they would. I think they even said they didn't imagine he would get so big, like so popular. I wonder if there were any other parts where they just had no idea that was coming.
Man, there's one I know, but I'm blanking on it because I feel like it was something that was like sort of funny, and then people started joking about it, and then it just had it. They had to like they like made a callback to it in like
Is it
a later
Frank's
episode. Is it what?
Is it Frank's Beans? Because they talked about that in the Nightmare.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, because Frank yells about his beans in the nightmare. Yeah.
Oren just shouts "Go Ape" over and over in the
Right.
yeah.
I think there was a lot of little like jokes that the
Yeah.
that the fans just kind of hooked onto, but the developers also enjoyed people biting into them, so they kept so they had to like bring them back in the future episodes, like the beans and Go Ape and stuff.
I mean, I think that's why the bottles were in the nightmare sequence.
Right, yeah.
Fucking hated it. They fucking hated it so much. And so they were like, okay, this would be good for a nightmare. this would be a nightmare.
It worked too because I was exhausted by that point. I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
They should have done like a massive fake out and been like, you have 20 bottles to find, but you only like solve the puzzle after you find like 3 or something. Just like really mess with you. Like you don't have to find all 20.
You don't
That
have to
reminds-
find it. It's just for the optional photo, though.
Yeah.
That reminds me of something that happened in the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation 2 game,
What's that?
where it's like you're in a convenience store and you have to fight Mysterio, right? And he's got like this massive health bar, and then all you got to do is just punch him once, and then his entire health drains, and he just falls down to the ground.
Yeah, it's hilarious because it doesn't even just do like it doesn't even give him a giant health bar. It does like the JRPG thing where it like does layers of health bars and they change colors every time. So there's like a red bar and then a green one and then a blue one and then a purple one.
All right.
And you just like Jimmy said, you punch him once and his like helmet flies off. You just it goes into like slow mo and he just like falls on the grocery store floor. It's really funny.
I love that game.
Man, I'm excited for the new Spider-Man game. It's supposed to be at
I
E3
have
this year.
something to share.
Show us.
Speaking of
Sure.
Hot Dog Man, so I think I mentioned it. I don't know if I mentioned it last episode, but I've mentioned it to someone at some point. But Alejandro and Scott and a bunch of did a stream ages ago of them playing Life is Strange.
Oh, no.
And they drew up a little picture of Hot Dog Man, and they were joking, and they were like, if anyone wants this, let me know. And I messaged Alejandro, and I was like, I want it. And then your address, and then so I now have it that they drew on the street.
Yes.
Oh man.
And over there hung up Max's shirt, and it was like one of the prototypes or something like that. And they sent that with it, which I didn't know they were going to send. And it says, "Thanks for exploring Arcadia Bay with us," and it's got their signatures and stuff, which was really nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so cool.
That is amazing.
Man, I want some signed stuff.
Some
Yeah,
exclusive
so do I.
merch.
And
One
I
of a
have
kind.
and they sent
I got nothing.
yeah. And they sent a letter as well, and it was like a really nice message. I have it somewhere, and it's on official Square Enix paper.
Oh yeah, they,
Is it like
Have you had a-
watermarked and everything?
yeah. It's like it's got some nice
Yeah.
letterhead on it.
Speaking of merchandise, something happened whilst we live streamed last, which we should probably mention, right?
What's that?
The Life is Strange Community Hero Awards.
Oh yeah,
So, when was this? About end of the year?
End of the year, yeah.
2016, yeah. Basically, the official Life is Strange pages basically made this list of like community heroes, and the podcast was on them. So we didn't.
Yeah.
We were like absolutely honored, but then we found out later that we were getting the Life is Strange vinyl soundtrack,
Yeah.
which is
That's awesome.
amazing. Which is it's signed by Michelle Rowland Luke. So I'm gonna frame this at some point.
Do it
And,
now.
That's so cool.
yeah. So thank you to everyone who basically made this possible and helped this become a reality, because me and Joey have been working hard at it, and look where we are now.
Hey,
So your little podcast is all grown up.
Yeah.
Graduated elementary school.
Linjamin? Is that how you say it? I don't know how you say your name. I don't know how to say names.
I think it's switched. I think, yeah.
We were going to do an interview with her, just for our new co-hosts to have opportunity to sit down and interview her, but she wasn't able to make it. So that's, since we were all together and we had the time set aside, we decided to do a impromptu stream. So here we are.
Hi.
An impromptu stream where we try to talk about Life is Strange and then ramble off into completely different things.
We
Just
didn't
looking at
introduce
the-
ourselves, and we have been in it for almost an hour.
Did we? Oh, I guess we did introduce
No.
ourselves. You're right.
I'm Jamie.
That's
Hello.
all right.
I'm Joey. Hello.
I'm Aaron.
We-
Hi.
We're doing it alphabetically.
Sure.
I'm Sean. Hi.
And I'm Zach. How's it going? I've been on here, I guess, twice now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, counting the secret lost, the lost extra life stream.
It's not lost. It's just partial.
Never
Yeah, we have some
But it's
footage.
just audio.
should never see the light of day.
Yeah. We have some audio. We have like 19 hours of audio, but no visuals. Unless we
Oh.
could like, unless we can get someone to draw like screenshots in MS Paint, and we just put the audio to that.
Yeah.
That could work. And someone had a question in the chat.
It's Bay versus Bay.
Oh,
Yeah, well, it's how hard was it for you to make that choice? And it was pretty tough. I think I paused the game, and I think I walked away from it for like 15 minutes before I came back and decided.
Really? Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, it was like, I almost never do that. I always applaud Life is Strange for being like, I chose to sacrifice Arcadia Bay, and I always applaud Life is Strange for being like one of the few games to make me pick the morally darker choice, because I usually don't go for that. I usually go for the morally good one,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think that was why that choice was so hard for me. But yeah, I paused the game. I walked away from it for 10 or 15 minutes before I came back and played it again. I think I just walked into a different room of the house and just like sat in silence while I thought about it.
I think what makes this different is normally like you were saying, Zach, like I have like a archetype of a character that I want to play when I do a playthrough, like with Bethesda games and
Right.
stuff like that. or because it's such a video game, like for instance, like Fallout 3, playing, like when I went through after I did my initial playthrough, I then went through and did a bad character, like just pure evil character. So easy. It's the easiest way to play that game because you just steal everything, you just kill everybody, and it's like so easy. But I think what really set this apart from like games with like moralistic choices in them is that it felt more personal. And even though like it's not a character that's just an analog for me or just like my like insert, like, you know, you make a character in a Bethesda game and it's like the character that you want to make. So even with Max being already like even though we do decide some of her choices and all that, it still felt more like just more of a personal experience, and it felt more like I'm trying to think of how best to put it. Like it was a part of me and I was a part of it more so than any other game that I played. And so it kind of took it above from being just a game, from being a game and feeling like I'm playing a video game, to feeling like this story means so much to me at this point. I really have to like the choices that I make in this game are really like, they had a personal impact on me, like personally, with like how things played out. And I've never experienced that. As much as I love video games and I've been playing them my whole life, I've never experienced that before in one. So it made the choices a lot. It made me think a lot differently than I normally do about choices. Because like I said, it was so personal, and it's not just like, well, at the very least I can save scrub it if I don't make the right choice.
Right.
And there wasn't like someone actually just said in the chat, but there wasn't like a right or wrong choice for the things that you make. The actions have consequences, good or bad, for each thing that you do. And so that made it really interesting, and that made it completely like, I mean, after I played it, you know, of course, wanted to go back and see what else happens, etc. But it made it really, like, while I was playing it, not want to go back. It made me want to make a decision, think hard about a decision that I was going to make that decision, and then not look back. And I think it's really, really interesting that like the narrative of it asks for that of you, while still giving you the power to rewind if you do something that you think is maybe the wrong choice. So it's a very, very interesting dynamic. And it's, as far as like being able to rewind time and stuff like that, it really like, it did it in a way that I don't think any video game has ever done. Even ones with like time mechanics in it.
Right, as like a central focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right. It's it for me it was like, you know, I feel like a lot of people have fantasized about that. Like, if you could go back and redo something, what would it be? And then you realize, you know, you have the choice to do that now, and it's not always good. Like, it can have consequences, as you said. And like, yeah, for me, it was like there were a lot of things, especially at that time that I played it, where over the past year, I was like, man, I wish I had done a lot differently. Like, you know, I really wish I could just redo this year. And it kind of gave me a weird sense of peace after I played it. And I was just like, no, I'm good with the way things happen.
I think for me, one thing that the choices like really kind of emphasized was the idea of human empathy. Like choosing between a whole town or someone that you're in love with. That's a choice that you're never really going to have to make in real life. I don't think so. But
Hope not.
I feel like it also tells you a lot about yourself. Because for me personally, I knew straight away that I was going to pick the person I loved. Straight away. And I didn't have to question it. And maybe that makes me selfish or whatever, but I guess that just tells you a lot.
No, yeah, I feel exactly the same way. The reason why that game made me pick the morally darker choice to sacrifice to pick the thing that is the selfish choice and to sacrifice people that weren't even involved. I think it was because, like Joey had said, the game became something more than other games have become. It was more than just like playing Dragon Age or playing Skyrim or Fallout or whatever. And you became a lot closer to those characters to the point to where I was personally sitting there thinking about, like, if I was Max and this person across from me is, you know, the Chloe is swapped for the person that would be, you know, my equivalent, is like, I would 100% pick the choice to pick them over the the rest of the town.
Yeah.
Like, that's like no question for me. And like, you know, maybe that does make me super selfish, but like, man, I don't think I'd ever would have thought about that choice had it not been for that game. But like, I guess I know what I would do in that situation.
Well, you know what's funny is I was thinking about it recently, and I wondered. I think I would have chosen differently if Chloe had a different attitude about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because she was so like willing to go. Like, she was like kind of pushing Max in that direction, like saying you can't sacrifice this whole town. Like, my mother deserves better. All this and that. I think if like she was obviously like visibly afraid, but I think if she was like repeatedly like, I don't want to die. Like, save me, please. Like, I think I might have acted differently, or at least taken longer to make my decision.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It really showed Chloe's character growth in that. And
Which I think. Oh, go ahead, Sean.
I was just gonna say, like, when Chloe, she kind of stutters, and instead of saying like step dick, she says stepfather, and you're just like, she's learned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I think that's like, I think the fact that Chloe wants you to like pick sacrificing her makes that choice so much harder, and makes it like so tough. Because even if you think about like the ramifications beyond the game, past episode 5's ending, like if you choose to sacrifice which I think this is one of the reasons why I had to go off and sit and think about this choice for 10 or 15 minutes, was because Max is like cursing Chloe with like this burden of like, you know, I value your life above like all these other people's lives. You know, your life is like way more important than me, than this entire town's. And it's like, you know, that is like some major like potential survivor guilt put on that person.
Yeah.
And like that makes that choice so hard.
And
Like,
touching on that, when Chloe is obviously saying, I should just accept my fate, and she's like willing to die for the town, I also feel like a part of that, for me personally, when I watched that, played it, I kind of, in a way, it kind of shows Chloe in her sense of she's not important, because bear in mind, before she met Max, she was kind of in a situation where she thought she did have no one, and that no one would ever care for her or like feel love for her. So maybe it's, in a way, it's kind of her being like, oh, this person has shown me love, and I'm happy with just ending this here, and knowing that this one person does care about me, even if no one else gives a shit.
Yeah, that ending, man, is good.
Yeah, it's heavy.
These actions will have consequences.
They sure will.
On our emotions.
We've done a good job on not rambling off on other subjects for a while.
Yeah.
Good job, team.
I see a question that is a nice fluff. See if I can find it again. Crud, where the heck is it? Boy. I wish I could read. That'd be nice. Okay, Adam wants to know, if you were able to spend the day and chat with any of the Life is Strange characters, who would it be and why? A nice little fluff.
Ooh.
I'll have to think about this. Probably.
I mean, I don't really need to think about it.
Probably Max. I feel like I wouldn't get along with Chloe too well. And as much as I like her character, I feel like personally I wouldn't get along with her. I think I could get along with Max pretty well. Or Warren.
I'd say Kate.
But I think Warren's as big of a dork as he is, he's pretty personable. I think he's easy to get along with.
You could nerd out with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Jamie, I was gonna say Kate.
Yeah.
But I knew you were going to, so I waited.
You see, hanging out with Kate would seem very therapeutic and like very relaxing, because you know, she's just from what we can tell before like the incidents of Life is Strange, that she's very calm and down to earth. and very knowledgeable of life, from what she knows. And I feel like just hanging out with her would just be very nice and relaxing.
Go out for tea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the friends I had growing up were more like Chloe because I was like more timid and shy, and I feel like they kind of like filled that void. And I was like, I don't know, I've kind of had enough of that.
I think
a little too intense.
As great as it would be to hang out with Kate, personally, I don't think she would like me because I'm a little bit too much of a blasphemer. And so
I expect Kate to be like, "Sorry, sir, this is a Christian server, no swearing."
No swearing.
Yeah, I feel like imagine Kate and a Chloe type hanging out. That would be what you would have if I hung out with Kate, and I don't think she would appreciate that. So
yeah, exactly. I think my choice would probably be Chloe. I think if we're assuming that there's like we get on well enough and we can actually like talk and stuff like that, I think because I think I like had the most in common out of all the characters with Chloe. So we get high or drunk or something and talk about our problems. I guess that's oddly enough what I imagine that day going like.
I would go with Chloe as well. Like you said, I feel like I have a lot in common. I would like to hang out with Max as well, just because I feel like Max is such a sweetie. I just want to go out for tea with her or something like that. I don't know. But I feel like if I got to hang out with Chloe, it'd probably be the same. We'd just get like drunk and just listen to music or go to like a concert or something. I don't know. I feel like I would get along with Chloe quite well, just because we do have quite a bit in common. Just be like, you know what, fuck the world.
I wonder if you guys all think you would, even though her character is like really obscure, but if anybody thinks they would get along with Rachel Amber, knowing what you know about her.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. And knowing what I know about her, she reminds me of this friend I have at school. Well, had at school because I finished school now, but who is and like she's a Rachel Amber type, like she's really popular and stuff like that. And we don't necessarily like hang out a lot, but she like drives me to school and stuff when I need a lift. And when we do talk, we have like a really good time. And in that sense, I think I'd get along with her, but she's not like someone I'd be super close with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the same here. I think I could hold a decent conversation with her, but I don't think I would ever like be great friends with her. And just knowing what I know, like the assumptions I have about her character.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it. She's like one of those like sort of low maintenance friends where you just kind of check in every now and then and just see how each other's doing.
Yeah, I think someone in the game actually described Rachel Amber as being a kind of like floater in social groups.
Yeah.
In the sense that she can get along with anyone. I think that is exactly how I would describe her. She looks like she has so many friends. Like you talk to people at Blackwell and everyone has good stuff to say about her. Apart from like some people being like, "Oh, she's a slut," but she still hung out with that group of people even if they didn't like her.
Yeah. I think that probably does affect my opinion of her a little bit. Just the fact that everybody says that like everybody liked Rachel, but she never really like fit anywhere other than apparently with Chloe.
I really want to do a redux on an episode that we did with Rachel because it was me and Joey, and it was like our third episode ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd have a lot.
The hardest part though is like, well, I guess it's not that hard. I mean, it's just mostly speculation.
Yeah.
So there's not like a lot of like hard things to base, facts to base opinion off of. It's all just like
It's a lot of
what we
assumption.
admit. Yeah. But she's still an interesting character to talk about, even if we don't know much of her character.
I feel like she'd be kind of like not exactly the same because I feel like she's kind of more rough around the edges from what I could tell. But I think she'd be kind of like Dana, like in the sense that Dana is like this popular like cheerleader girl, but she's also like really sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dana's a sweetheart.
I always get the
I have
feeling.
such a crush on Dana.
I always got the feeling that Rachel would be pretty much like Chloe, but a Chloe that knows how to adapt into society and
exactly.
not be a hooligan.
Mm.
And because her and Chloe have so many similarities, but I feel like that's mostly Rachel only showed that side to Chloe. And I feel like everybody else saw Rachel as a more nobody really knew Rachel other than Chloe. She was the only one that really knew her.
And even in that, we knew that she was not even 100% genuine to Chloe in the fact that she was seeing Frank, and Chloe was just not aware of that, or she was never really honest about that. And I feel that is something that Rachel Amber would be that she's the kind of person who would be different around different people, and I know people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like she was sort of her social bridge, she was kind of her, because Chloe seems more like a loner, she doesn't really care about mingling with people that don't matter to her. So maybe she was her plug into the social pipeline, and when she went missing, it was kind of just well, screw it, I don't need these people.
Yeah.
I think how some, I don't know, maybe it's not the same for you, but how there's some popular people who are in all these groups of stuff, but they kind of don't feel, like you said, she's kind of that floater friend, and she's everyone knows her, but they don't really know her. And I feel like Chloe is the one person who she can go to and be oh, you know what, I'm fed up of just being the pretty girl. I just want to have a friend that I can talk to seriously, someone who's not just friends with me for the social aspects of the sense of going out and getting drunk, and someone I can just chill with.
Right.
Yeah.
I think probably too, with Rachel's popularity, as popular as she was, she kind of probably had to mask that, so that it's, in a way, even though probably the feelings that Chloe had for her weren't entirely reciprocated, I think, like you said, Sean, Chloe was there. She was there for Rachel in that way, that Rachel could not have to worry about putting on airs to maintain popularity. And I say that as though it's a malignant thing, but I mean that more so just I never got the feeling that Rachel was pretentious or anything, or was fake, but I still think when you maintain a public persona like that, you do have to kind of keep it. You can't delve too deep into your own self in order to maintain that, because so I don't know, it's interesting. She's an interesting character.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. And there's a song by Halsey, I don't know how to say her name, which is called Hurricane, and that song really reminds me of Rachel Amber. Every time I hear it, the lyrics remind me of her. It's I'm a wanderess, I'm a hurricane, I don't belong to no city, don't belong to no man, in the sense that everyone knew her, she was Rachel Amber, and she was kind of a brand, she was a model and all this kind of stuff, and everyone knows who she is, and she doesn't necessarily want to be in that limelight all the time, no matter if she is described as that way. And Chloe is her kind of safe space, the one person who she can go to and just be real with.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. You got any other?
Definitely interesting. Yeah, we have any other? I don't think anybody else asked any questions. Some people were calling Warren a creep, and well, I think he isn't a creep. I think he's a goofball with creepy tendencies, but he means well. Just
everything you guys need to know about Warren is in our last episode.
Just a butthead.
Subscribe. Yeah, all that good stuff. Shit. So yeah. There's a lot of different characters in Life is Strange that we don't really know much about.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Which we look at it from the perspective of us, the consumer of this media, of this game, having these divergent characters, these disparate characters, not divergent, that like we look at from a broad sense, but then if you like equate that to real life, there's a lot of like characters, quote unquote, that in our own lives that we don't really know a lot about, like a lot of people. So I think it's like I think it worked really well. Like just everything about that felt so real, even though it was like a video game, but it felt real.
Yeah.
I was always interested to find out more about the homeless lady.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too. I wanted that.
I've heard some really interesting theories.
Yeah, I know one that a lot of people were saying, which is interesting, but I don't know if it's definitely not my favorite theory. Was that it was supposed to be like Max?
Yeah,
from
that's
like
what
the future. Yeah,
Yeah,
or like a Max that got tangled up in the timeline somewhere.
yeah.
I think even though there is a lot of like mystery around her, I think that she was more just like, because she was homeless and she's off back in the alley and she's easy to miss and all that. But if you don't talk to her, then she doesn't survive in that one, like, and all that. I think it was more like allegorical with her, as just how like being kind to her, even though life has not been kind to her and not really like anyone has other than Joyce gives her food, but like just being kind to her like literally saved her life. And to me, I took that as like a metaphor, is like sometimes that's all it takes, is like just being kind. You don't have to be friends with them, but you know, just being kind and talking to someone can really like do wonders. So I hate to be that guy who's like, actually it's philosophy, but
It makes sense.
That's kind of how I took it.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at there, and I do get it, and I think that might be one of the ways I kind of interpret her. But I did originally run into her thinking that like she was going to pan out into something more, like she knows more about like what's going on. But I'm kind of disappointed that didn't happen. But at the same time, the draw of like the mystery and the mystery of like the powers and everything, the storm and all that is such a big part of the game. Maybe it should have been demystified.
Yeah. Speaking about, someone just said that they were thinking about characters who they thought would have more to do with the story. That's something I actually knew it was Jefferson, who was the killer from pretty much from the start.
It was the beard, wasn't it?
No, it's because when you're in the classroom and he's talking about a victim and putting them and stuff like that, that was a red flag straight away, and I didn't like. And then I kept picking up things like I noticed that his art was around the school, and I was like, the art was like young girls who weren't exactly looking like they were in comfortable situations, and I was picking up on stuff like that, and I was like, right, and then I just kept it's in my notes somewhere. I was writing it down every time I saw something. I was like, Jefferson did this in this episode.
The foreshadowing is definitely there. Like, I think for most people, it was sort of like why didn't I notice? Like, after you realize that it's him, and you go back and you play episode 1, and he says that line, and and there's like other little things. It was like, man, they had the foreshadowing in from the beginning. Like they were trying to tip you off, but they were subtle. Right when I knew,
the moment I knew it was definitely him is when he's talking to Kate, and then he says something, and he's like he says maybe the lady doth protest too much. I'm like,
that's where I started suspecting him too, and like it was at that point.
I was like, no one chats shit about Kate, okay?
You're going down, motherfucker.
I'm glad to know we're all in the same boat about Kate.
That was the exact moment too when I realized, I was like, okay, actually it's probably this guy. He's a little bit too chummy and a little bit too like, and then what he says about Kate too is like, no one says that if you're not a bad person.
Especially because bear in mind, he's a teacher, so he's supposed to be looking after his students and being like a caregiver in that sense. Like, you would never ever a student who is in danger in that sense. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, and that's another instance where I think I was just oblivious. I had no idea, and but I in a way I'm kind of glad I was, because it was that much more of a surprise when it happened.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting it. I don't know if I had an idea of like, I think when I was playing through it, I didn't really like think that the killer was someone that like we already knew. I was expecting it to be like a new character, somebody that we hadn't run into yet. And so I think because of that, I wasn't trying to like queue up theories about like who it is. And so it did catch me off guard when it turned out to be Jefferson. Because like I said, I was expecting it to be some side character that we hadn't run into yet, some new character. I was actually suspecting it had to do with the Prescotts, because there's so much like foreshadowing about like how the Prescotts like control this town and like, you know, they can buy anyone and stuff. And I thought it was maybe the Prescotts and they just like covered it up.
Yeah, the thing is, I kind of got to a point where I forgot that most people didn't like pick up on the fact that it was Jefferson, in the sense that whilst we were playing through episode 5, I was sat playing it with my friend Gabs, and when I saw Nathan's jacket, and they were like, "Oh, it's Nathan's jacket. He's been here." I'm like, "Jefferson killed him!" And I was just yelling. And then when I was watching, because I watched Jacksepticeye's playthroughs afterwards, after I'd finished the episode, whilst he was like, "Oh, we've got to find Nathan and all this," and I was like, "It's Jefferson." And I kept having to remind myself. I was like, most people didn't realize it was Jefferson, whereas like as soon as I picked up on it, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's him."
Yeah.
It is.
Man,
So.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I thought like the person that wasn't like a singular like Jefferson. I honestly thought like it was like a group of like 5 to 6 people who were like scheming about the like how to make Arcadia Bay a better place.
Yeah, because there's that
cult.
there's that little scene at the end of episode 2, after Kate's suicide attempt, and the whole like thing happens in the office where you choose who to point the finger at. And there's that little scene at the end of the episode with like Jefferson leaning at Principal Wells's car door and is like talking to him, and it looks like Principal Wells like drives away from him in a huff, like they were arguing about something. And I remember watching that thinking like, is this some kind of like conspiracy, like you said, between the powerful people of Arcadia Bay? And but like that never pans out. Like Principal Wells has nothing to do with any of it.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, I'm kind of wondering what that scene of him being in a huff is about.
I think there's a few things. I think they changed gears at some point, because I think the Prescotts were supposed to be involved in some way.
I think it's one of those things where the Prescotts are this like the most affluent family in Arcadia Bay. They have like I think the reason Wells just stays drunk all the time is because he has such problems with the way things are going, but he can't do anything about it because the Prescotts own him. He's in the Prescott's pocket.
Yeah.
And so and to a degree too, because like Jefferson is just given full reign, I think, because here's how I gathered it all. Jefferson is given full reign to do all this shit that he does, because he's kind of taken Nathan under his wing, and Sean doesn't care about Nathan at all, and like it's pretty obvious in that one of the reasons why Nathan is so fucked up. And then also we see the letter from the doctor, Dr. Jacoby, to Sean about Nathan. So I think it's like one of those things where it's like, well, you know, just do whatever you need to do.
Take care of my kid and turn a blind eye to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about
that. So I think that's kind of like where the whole thing with that is. That's just how I gathered it all.
Man, I was so sure the Prescotts were going to end up as like such a big part of it whenever you get to episode 4 and you find the dark room and it's in like a storm shelter. And so I was so sure that like the Prescotts knew about the storm and that like that's why like the shelter existed. And so I thought there was going to be this weird thing that like the Prescotts are like responsible for the storm, or at least somehow know about it or something. And I had this like weird, crazy theory that like somehow the Prescotts had created the storm, and it was all part of their plan to like wipe the slate clean on Arcadia Bay, and so that they can remold it into something they wanted.
So they could sell that for like real estate or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
So that they could, because they already owned like half of Arcadia Bay, but they wanted to own the whole thing. So somehow, I don't know, I'd never had a theory about how they did it, but I thought that the storm was like something of their creation, and they were going to use it to, you know, if Arcadia Bay gets wiped out the Prescotts are there to like clean up the mess, then the whole town's in their debt.
Mhm.
Isn't that the plot of the first Superman movie?
I don't know, I've never saw it.
Speaking of bad teachers and stuff, I just want to point out the fact that when after Jefferson goes to jail and stuff, and Max is on the plane to San Francisco. Oh my God, why is her name gone?
Principal Wells.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, when she's on the plane with Principal Wells, like I just can't help but ignore the fact that he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, they've had to deal with such a bad teacher," like, and he's talking about Jefferson. And I'm just like, "You're still an alcoholic," so I'm like, that's what I want to point out. Like, Max knows this as well because she finds the whiskey and she sees him when he's drunk. I'm like, you're still on a plane with a teacher who shouldn't really be a teacher, and he's taking you to San Francisco. Like, that doesn't check out with me.
Isn't that so real life though? Like somebody who's so blind to their own like imperfections, and they're just willing to call somebody else out. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I think that's part, like the whole thing with the bunker and all that. That's part of how the Prescotts gained their affluence, is because like earlier, because like it was property of like Henry or something like that. Like,
Yeah, you
so,
can find the deed in the barn.
yeah. So like I think like back in the 70s, probably during the Cold War, they made probably like a huge killing off of building these bomb shelters and selling them to people like based on fear. That seems like something they absolutely would do, is a bunch of fear mongering to make profit.
Yeah.
So I think like that's probably why like the family has bomb shelter, but it did have set up, which I think was like purposefully a red herring, but it did have it set up to where it was like, man, like what kind of cult shit is this going to be that the Prescott's like for the greater good type shit, you know? Like,
Yeah.
for the greater good.
For the greater good.
it does seem within their character. Yeah.
I mean, I was so convinced the Prescotts were going to be behind it all in some way. Because there's also, there's all the stuff where, like, even in episode, which episode is it where Warren attacks Nathan? Is it episode 3?
Is that
Four.
Four.
Nathan even, like, says if you stop Warren and Nathan gets up and, like, stumbles out of the dorm, he's like, my dad's coming and you're all going to be sorry. And so I thought that, like, Sean was going to show up, and I think that was his name, Sean Prescott. I thought he was going to show up and he was going to be behind the whole thing, and that like he was going to be like he was going to have a hand in everything. Maybe not even that he was like Rachel Amber's killer, but he was involved with it, and he was involved with the storm, and he's involved in Kate. I thought it was going to be like all tied to him, and that you were going to have to get into like a knife fight with him. Not actually. I hope it feel like
final boss battle.
Resident Evil 4 quick time event, knife fight with Krause.
You thought it was the Prescotts, but it was me, Jefferson.
Yeah,
It is
like,
kind of like a Scooby-Doo episode in that way.
there is even somebody brought it up in the chat. There was there was cut audio. I think it was in the trailer for episode 5 where like Warren, or maybe it was like in the files. I didn't mean Warren either, but it was in the files somewhere where Nathan says something about mentions the storm. Like, yeah, like Nathan knows about it. It's arriving. And so I definitely think that the Prescotts were supposed to have a bigger hand in the game, and not changed it at some point.
Yeah.
See, I don't know, because I know, and I hate to play devil's advocate, which is always the thing that you preface before you play devil's advocate and be a little shit. But I think that's just because people were talking about like how the trailers prior had spoilers in them, and people were upset, so they just did this like complete opposite misdirection. But maybe I know. I mean, we may never know the truth, but I know Michelle and I believe Raul have said that, like, or maybe it was Jean-Luc said that like from the beginning the story played out exactly how they wanted it to play out.
Yeah, I know. That's one thing that's always conflicted with my idea, because they've always said that, and man, I feel like unless they've just like thrown a bunch of misdirections in, and I fell for all of them. I was so sure the Prescotts were going to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's something I admire too, that they could stick to that, and while still like it was obvious that they listened to a lot of the fan feedback and responded to it accordingly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gotta call out this comment from Wani Noko. Plot twist: Nathan's father is the storm.
That is
that's genius.
I think he's found the missing link. It ties all the conspiracies together. Everything makes so much sense.
Nathan makes his dad angry. His dad turns into a tornado.
What,
That's his power.
what if he's actually just a pro wrestler, showing the Storm Prescott and his finishing move is the tornado?
It's an actual storm.
Yeah.
Wow.
His intro music is Spanish Sahara.
That's certainly one way to interpret it all.
Oh,
I think we're making Sean upset.
yeah, no, the Spanish Sahara, like, I was listening to the soundtrack whilst I was revising for my exam the other day, and Spanish Sahara came on, and I was like, skip.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Man, I listen to it a lot. It's such a good song to like borderline crying and drive, and you just start like, and you just sing
Yeah.
it along, and you just like let it all out, man. It's just like it's such a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, I listen to it all the time when I'm driving.
weirdly
I
enough, Spanish Sahara doesn't do that to me. It's the local native song, Mount Washington. That's the one. That
Oh,
does
dude,
that.
yeah. Because it's the end of episode 2 and it brings back the.
Yeah, man, that one does that one to me. Mount Washington, that song's brutal.
I made for my media coursework last year. I made a like 3-minute movie opening, and we had like music playing in the background. And I was in charge of the music, so I put Spanish Sahara in because I thought if I listened to it enough, it would make me not sad.
Get over it.
Then I also. That's when I had my hair short and blue like Chloe, and I was looking through it and I was like editing it, and it's all in slow motion. It's really deep, and there's like a voiceover, someone talking about like survival and stuff like that. I was like, this was not a good choice. Why did I do
I think Mountain does that to me, and I just now saw that somebody else said this in the chat. But Mountains is it's the one that that always, like, even unconsciously, if I'm not even paying attention to it, it's on in the background. It's a tearjerker.
That song is so, for its simplicity, and maybe it's just because of the tie-in with Life is Strange, but man, that song is like so visceral almost. Like just the feelings that like I get when listening to it. There's like I could not begin to describe it, but they're like listening to that song, man, it paints this picture, and it's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I think for me it's like the wailing violin lead. Like it just kind of like really gets me.
Yeah, Britt just said it in
um,
the chat, but Obstacles is another tough one for me to listen to.
Mhm.
Because that's a great song, but like that one gets me too.
It makes me happy. I don't know. I'm a bit
Obstacles?
of a
Yeah,
because
I'm the-
yeah, Obstacles, because the last time like you really hear it in the game is when Max and Chloe are driving off out of Arcadia Bay.
Yeah,
It makes me happy just knowing that
That's true.
we have each other. So it's like yes, but Spanish Sahara, I can't even listen to it for like 5 seconds. I just have to
Yeah.
throw my headphones off.
all of the songs kind of have a relevance to one part of my life since Life is Strange came out, because I listened to the soundtrack so much, and like for Mountains, I remember I listened to that on repeat one time when I sat at school, and I felt like I wasn't in a group of people who I kind of really felt close to, and I felt like an outsider, and that was a song I listened to on repeat because it was kind of therapeutic in the way that like it made me feel sad so I could feel better after listening to it. So like and Obstacles I learned to play on guitar, so I'd like it just makes me think about just sitting in my room and just like playing a little bit of guitar and stuff like that, and a relevance to a different part of my life, like Crosses. Even though Max is on the bus when she's listening to that, I think of that because I used to listen to it on the bus all the time when I was writing my fan fictions. So it's just like
It's awesome.
One thing
Yeah.
that Donut did really well is, you see, I know they got like all the music and everything, but the way that they placed it in the game is crucial because that's what really makes a scene.
Mm-hmm. The direction on that is phenomenal. Just the timing and everything. They did such a good job with all of that.
somebody said that Kothi's songs get to them as well, and I have to applaud him because he like captures his music captures the essence of the game so well.
Mm-hmm.
There's one of his tracks does that to me too. I forget which one.
is it Frank Bean's one? Because I remember that one really gets
That one
to me
is
as
real
well.
tilted,
That one
yeah.
really it just tugs on the heartstrings. Just every time I listen to it.
It's a gut punch for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's Storm. I think Storm is the one that really gets to me.
Mm. Well, I don't know about like feelings wise. I think Max and Chloe is probably the most like feelings inducing for me. But my favorite, I think I said before, is Timeless. I think that's such a good song.
It is, yeah.
Joey liked to fuck with me with this, with like the name of Max and Chloe, and it really got to me. And I know
The only reason I just misspoke, and the only reason I kept it going is because you made such a big deal about it.
it's because it's Max and Chloe. That's what it says on the soundtrack.
I said Chloe and Max talking about the song because I misspoke, and Jamie like went off about how it was Max and Chloe. So I just kept it going. So I just started calling it Chloe and Max.
You don't play Chloe in the game, you play Max. She's the protagonist. Well, that's what really pissed me off.
What is?
I remember this. I was very much around for this. I remember it coming up a lot.
We need to move on before you rustle my jimmies.
But yeah, Chloe and Max is a really good song.
Fuck you.
There's one of the songs that like gives me anxiety when I listen to it, and I can't remember which one it is, but I think it might be.
Is it Timelines?
Maybe, yeah.
I only asked because that one has kind of like a weird like shifting tempo.
Yeah, I think. I can't remember.
I really don't like listening to Kate.
Oh,
that
dude.
sounded wrong.
Yeah.
The track, Kate.
Yeah, the track.
I love
Kate.
listening.
Yeah, it's just not nice because every time I hear it, it's kind of like the creepy, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like the dissonant
Essence
piano
of it.
chords.
Yeah, it makes me think of like all the sad stuff that happened to Kate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like and all the stuff that happened. It's like makes me think of the episode 2 ending. Is like she deserves better.
She does. Our precious one.
Diane will be streaming Life is Strange soon.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Episode
I
1.
want to catch that. What date is that?
Let me check.
It's either the 16th or the 17th, right? I think it's one of those. I really hope it's one of those. Otherwise, I've been getting my dates wrong really recently.
Let's see. Gotta fucking hate Instagram so much.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
It's the 16th.
16th. All right,
16th.
sweet.
At 7 p.m. Pacific.
Sweet.
So that'll be 10 Eastern.
3 a.m. for me and Sean.
It's okay. I never sleep anyway.
Same. I feel you.
Sleep is for the week.
It's like 2 o'clock for you guys now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, boy.
Yee.
Oh boy.
I guess we should probably be wrapping up soon. So do we have any final topics that people would like to hear us opine on?
Yes, Sean.
Lightning round.
Yeah.
Lightning round, yep. Multi-ball.
Multi-ball. Man, always giving me the good Futurama reference.
Oh boy. So whilst we're kind of like waiting for the the quick fire questions, it's we can give like an update on what's going on podcast wise.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, me, Joey, and Sean are going to be talking about Victoria.
Yeah.
It's going to be very nice because we haven't. We talked. Me and Joey talked about her in the past, like briefly in the Vortex Club episode. So it'll be nice to actually look at in a bit more in depth with Sean as well.
And Sean, I'm glad that you actually wanted to do that episode because it is one that I wanted to do as well, but I just didn't think that like I personally could have enough talking points. So that's why we did the Vortex Club. So it'll be really cool. It'll be really cool to do that episode.
No, I have a lot I'd like to say about Victoria.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
Looking forward to
All
that.
good things, I'm sure.
and then
Yes.
see what else? Then we have the LGBTQ episode coming up, and there's still some spaces available to be on the show, from what I can remember.
Three spaces.
3 spaces. So if you want to apply to that, just send us an email. blackwellpodcast@hotmail.com. Big direct message us on Twitter. Even if you want to leave a message that you want to read
anonymously.
Thank you. Yeah, you can do that. Just make sure you say it in the message, and we'll read it. I'm gonna read it out on air with confidence.
We should maybe. I'll look into it. Try to find some way where you can have completely anonymous submissions, even anonymous to us. People don't feel comfortable, because I've gotten some submissions that want to be anonymous, but I know like who they are. Of course, I'm not going to say because that would defeat the purpose. But maybe there's some way where we can have like some sort of like completely anonymous. I'll talk to Chris, see if he can set up something through LIS.
I think I have an idea.
If you, that's a good call. I'll post about it on Tumblr, because a lot of the following that I have on Tumblr for Life is Strange is LGBT people. But you can go on my Tumblr and you can send messages to me anonymously if you want to be involved. And
okay, there we go.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So what's your Tumblr?
Arcadia-gay.
It's a good name.
Same
It's
as
easy to
on
remember.
YouTube.
It's nice and relevant to the topic at hand.
All right, I threw that out. I threw that out there in the chat. If anyone.
So, the deadline for that is the 8th of July. Yes. Yeah, that's really about it from what I can tell episode-wise. That's confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be on after Sean, but I think we're still trying to hammer out what exactly that one's going to be about.
Yeah.
We want to do we want to do a full we want to do like a full episode, Full Metal Alchemist on Life is Strange 2. So where that's all we talk about is just kind of some of the stuff that we went over here, but also like I would like to really delve into it. I think that's really all we have planned now. We're still working on interviews, of course, but as we've stated time and time again, we're at the mercy of the people joining us. We're still considering doing another Extra Life stream. If we do, that'll be in November.
Yeah.
We'll let you know if we're planning on doing that or not. I think that's really all as far as immediate future. Looking at 10 episodes will be our 50th episode, so we'll do something big for that.
Mm-hmm. Not sure what we're gonna do it on.
I want to do an episode or something on and I know I've talked to you guys about this, on the influences of Life is Strange, things that the game pulls from other forms of media. And I don't know, I think that would be pretty fun to do with the community, because then we could all, everybody could go watch an episode of something like Twin Peaks, which the game pulls a lot from, or The Butterfly Effect, which is a movie that really influences that game. I think that would
we should make a list of things to dig up on, because that would give me a reason to watch Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks is amazing. That should be your reason.
I gotta say, I've tried to watch Twin Peaks, and so many people say it holds up, but I have trouble watching that show.
In all fairness, the other day I tried watching, because I know they brought it back, a reboot, I think.
Right.
I tried watching the first episode. I tried watching it the other day, and I couldn't really get into it, but I wasn't paying that much attention, so I'll probably have to follow it again. But if we I'd like to talk about how the game is influenced from X-Files, if that's okay as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, we could definitely, like Aaron said, we could try to build a list of a bunch of things that the game pulls from.
And also that way too, we can put that list out there to make sure, if you don't want spoilers for some of this stuff, maybe check it out after you've seen it. Check out. Going back to Twin Peaks, I will say it has a very weird pacing to it. And I think the pacing kind of does make it hard to like get into it, but like once it builds on you, it's like so good. But like trying to sit down and watch it, it's one of those things where like trying to sit down and just watch it casually, the pacing is so weird, especially in the beginning, that and the tone too. The tone is a little bit odd.
It's weird. It's goofy.
I've seen the first episode twice, and I actually enjoyed it.
It's
both times.
Man, I find the first episodes are a slog. I finished season 1 and I got a little ways into season 2, and it wasn't like, I don't know, 3 or 4 episodes into season 1 that I was really like hooked, because the only reason I was watching I only started watching is because it was such an influence, and like that was the only thing that was driving me. If it wasn't for that, I would have given up on the show, because it was just such a slog. And like you said, Joey, there's like this weird tone, and it's like really goofy, and it's really offbeat, and it has these weird humor moments. Yeah. And I appreciate them sometimes, but I feel like they hurt. I feel like they hurt the overall rest of the tone of the show, and it just kind of threw it off for me. But it is such an influential show to that.
I think it's really cinematically interesting.
Think what?
I think it's really cinematically interesting. Like you said about it being offbeat, like sometimes I was just like, I don't know what's happening. But
yeah, it's weird.
It kind of like freaked me out.
There's this really wacky scene where it has to do with some of the characters are a part of like the police force in the town of Twin Peaks, and there's this one guy who's just like a total moron. I don't remember his name. And there's this really goofy scene where he like steps on like a rake. You know, like a cartoon when somebody steps on a rake and the pole it comes up and hits them in the face. He does it like 3 times in a row, and he keeps stepping on it. Bob. And it's such a weird scene where like he keeps stepping on this rake, and it like hits him in the face, and he does like this goofy, like he's dazed. And I'm like, man, I'm watching a show about people investigating this like high school girl's murder. This is weird. Like it's such the goofy scenes have such a weird dissonance to the rest of the show.
I think there was a lot of like conflicting between Lynch and the other guy. I think there was like a lot of conflicting tonality ideas. But I will say like it isn't for everyone for sure, but it becomes endearing, like the goofiness of it.
It does, yeah. It did build on me.
So I'm a big fan of Twin Peaks. I need to watch the new season. What's out of it? Because I've been pretty excited for it, but
I'm completely blind about it. I've not seen any trailers or anything regarding it.
Same.
We could even talk about
nice Simpsons reference, Jamie. By the way,
thank you.
I don't think anybody else got that.
Okay.
We could even talk about there's another show that FX made. It's one of my favorite TV shows called The Killing, and
I haven't heard of it.
It's on Netflix. It's awesome. I'm watching through it again right now, and it basically takes everything. In my opinion, it takes everything that was good about Twin Peaks and refines it and makes it even better. It is basically the same story. A high school girl gets murdered. Some police look into her murder, and they find out that she wasn't like she wasn't the perfect high school girl that everybody thought she was. And there's like her murder's been like hidden and like covered up, and like people don't want to know about it. But it's a great show, and I feel like it really does. It's heavily inspired by by Twin Peaks, and I feel like it takes, like I said, I feel like it's a more refined Twin Peaks. And I love that show. It's great.
I'll have to check it out.
Nice.
There's also a really nice SNL reference in Life is Strange. I just want to put that one.
Is there?
Yeah.
Is there?
When Dana talks, I think it's Dana, talks about Frank, she's like a man who lives in a van down by the river.
Oh, wow. I didn't even catch that.
I never
That's
got
awesome.
that either. I know. Man, how did I always miss that?
In a van down by the
Down
river.
by the river. Yeah, Chris Farley, what a legend.
Anyway,
Our resident SNL expert, Sean.
Sure I am.
So yeah, I think it's pretty much time to wrap out now, right?
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody. It was fun.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week with the Victoria Chase episode.
Yeah, boy.
No. All right, bye everybody.
Bye.
Later, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.